All right, I'll go ahead at this time. It is 10 o'clock and convene our mid-month meeting. And welcome, everyone. It's good to see all the faces with us. We will go ahead and start our meeting with the pledge, followed by an invocation from Commissioner Prince. You will stand and join us. Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You will join me in prayer. Most gracious and loving God, we just thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for the blessings that we enjoy. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity you allow us to have. Lord, we pray that we will continue to keep our citizens of this county in our hearts and our minds, that we'll make fair and reasonable decisions and take the right directions that benefit the majority of our people. Lord, we thank you for the citizens and the safety that we realized during this last storm. Thank you, Lord, that we had no tragedies. Lord, we pray for those families that have lost loved ones and lost properties in the rest of the country. Guide and direct us, Lord, this day. These things we ask in your holy name. In Christ's sake, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, at this time we are being asked to consider two additions under general business. One, you have a resolution in front of you there regarding the some surplus property. That'll be item number 1 under general business. And then item number 2 would be a possibility of waiving the brush fee at the transfer facility for storm brush. And with those two modifications, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moving a second to approve the amended agenda. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I vote. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of sets of minutes in our agenda packet. If there are any questions, we'll entertain them at this time. If not, we would consider a motion for approval.
Hearing no change, I make a motion we approve.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0. Thank you, Drew, for those. Okay, we are to our first item on the agenda, which is Chamber of Commerce Spotlight Business. We have Ms. Edwards with us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Before I get started with the Spotlight business, I just want to give an update of what's going on with the Chamber. So we do have our Chamber banquet coming up on the 17th of November, and the director, Katie, went over who was going to be recognized during that banquet event. We are adding a new recipient to our awards list, and that's going to be Barbara Halsey for Community Spirit. We are really excited to celebrate her as what all she's done for Music on Main in our community, and so I just wanted to mention that to everyone. Tickets are $35, and they will be available for public purchase soon. Watch our Facebook page. We tend to offer those first to our Chamber members, and then we also go from there to the community for anybody that's interested in attending that event. We are really excited to host it this year. And I want to also highlight we have 2 new Chamber members since the last time I spoke with you all, and they are Quality and Custom Log Homes by Todd and Uptown Cozy Cabin by Todd and Janice. So this is a mother and wife duo, and they were really excited to join the Chamber, and we're excited to help them with marketing. And they have mentioned that they don't really have the funds at this point to go forward with any sort of marketing campaign, so it's really good that at the Chamber we can provide that for them as a member benefit. So heading up next to our Spotlight business, Dr. Arnold's office, I spoke with Amy, the office manager, who was supposed to be here this morning, but she called me about 10 minutes ago and said that they are swamped, which is really good for a Spotlight business. We want them to be so busy. She sends her regrets that she couldn't attend, so I will be speaking on behalf of them today. And I'm really excited to also share that with the Spotlight business going forward, we have been approached by the high school, and they have asked us if the Spotlight business could come and present to a business class that they have up there. So we are really excited that now the youth of our community are learning about our local businesses as well, and are learning from business leaders in our community. So Dr. Arnold's office, Dr. Arnold bought the practice in 2016. They mentioned to me that he kind of shopped around a little bit for locations, but he knew that Sparta was the best place for him. And he bought the practice in February, and he became a chamber member in June, which I think is really exciting and something to be celebrated, that a new business member came onto the chamber so quickly, and he still is one today. He has 6 full-time employees and a couple of part-time employees as well. And I thought it was really appropriate to highlight Dr. Arnold's office because it is Dental Hygiene Month. And I spoke with Amy, the office manager, at length, and she mentioned that Dr. Arnold's office looks at hygiene from a stance of prevention and encourages patients to get regular cleanings and exams. And Dr. Arnold has been really active in the community with offering free cleanings and such of that nature. So I think his philanthropic efforts should be celebrated as well. And he is actually at a conference this week for dental hygiene, so he couldn't be here either. And I asked Amy what she thought Dr. Arnold's office brings to our community, and she mentioned it is a diversified dentist option, which I think is really important because most dentist offices just offer general practices, but Dr. Arnold's office offers oral surgery, IV sedation, and cosmetic dentistry. And typically, small-scale dentist offices in rural America have to outsource those to larger communities. So it's really great that we have those services provided here by Dr. Arnold's office. And Amy, the office manager, again attributed the business success to a family-oriented environment and the diverse treatment options. And I'm really excited to celebrate Dr. Arnold this month as it is Dental Hygiene Month, and I encourage you all to get your cleanings if you haven't recently. Thank you.
Thank you. Good presentation. Okay, we'll move along to item A, which is a couple of public hearing items. We have a road naming. I guess we need to hold these separate. Yeah. So we'll go ahead with the road naming that's on pages 8 through 13 in your agenda packet. And if there is any neighborhood folks that are here that would like to speak in regards to this road naming, I'll go ahead and declare the public hearing open for that and invite you to come up and express your thoughts, ideas, and opinions. Seeing no movement, we will close that public hearing and move over to a public transportation public hearing for from Tiffany Boyer's request on pages 14 through 16. And that's regarding grant proposals that she'll be submitting.
You can see the proposed grant for this will be for next budget year and the local match required for each category there. So significant portion of our transportation funding does come from grants. We would not be able to keep Alleghany in motion on the road without the grants, so it is, we certainly appreciate those, and our agency is well run, but the grants are necessary. We have a lot of folks that, you know, we take to dialysis and things like that, are certainly in addition to just leisure trips as well. So
This time we'll go ahead and declare a public hearing for the Alleghany in Motion grant proposals. If there's anyone here wishing to speak in regards to that, come forward. Seeing no movement, we'll close that public hearing. Okay, we'll move along to item B, public agenda comments. If there's anyone here who'd like to address this board on any of the agenda items, we'll invite you to come at this time. An awful quiet crowd this morning. Here for other reasons, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move along to item C. We have board presentations, beginning with the Social Services Energy Program we're going to hear about this morning. Good morning, Ashley
Good morning.
and Lisa.
All right, I'll do the energy program for Crossis and Leap. Crossis and Leap is both federally mandated programs. Whoops, excuse me. The Crisis Intervention Program, it runs from July 1st through June 30th. This serves individuals and families experiencing or who are in danger or experience a heating or cooling-related crisis. The crisis must be life-threatening or a health-related emergency, and sufficient, timely, and appropriate assistance is not available from any other source. Life-threatening is defined as a household which has no heating or cooling source or has a disconnect notice for their primary heating or cooling services, and their health and well-being of a household member would be in danger if the heating or cooling crisis was not alleviated. The eligibility requirements for the crisis, the countable income is at or below 150% of the current poverty level. The household must contain a U.S. citizen or an eligible alien. And the energy-related crisis, they must have 4 days of electricity or the fuel source below. And the LEAP, the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, it runs from December 1st through March 31st of each year. This provides a one-time annual vendor payment to help families pay their heating expense. December 1st through December 31st is for households containing a person 60 years of age and above, and the household containing a disabled person who receives services through Division of Aging and Adult Services. And then after December 31st, any eligible household can potentially receive benefits from January 1st through March 31st. The eligibility requirements for this is countable income is at or below 130% of current poverty level. The household must contain a U.S. citizen or eligible alien, and the household countable resources cannot exceed $2,250. This time, is there any questions?
Funding for this program, is it state, federal, local?
It's federal.
Okay.
Do you all get any of the funds on the Roundup program through Blue Ridge Electric, or is that Brock, or do you know?
That's Brock. We don't get any of those funds.
None.
None.
The questions come? This is just for the public's information. This this is part of an ongoing series of education opportunities that y'all have given us, and we appreciate it. It's helped us, I think, as a board to see a little more into what your all's role is through social services, and I think it's also probably helped the community to be aware and to know that, some of these programs are available for folks who are less fortunate in their community, so they know maybe where to go and look and seek some of this help that we have. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
We have completed all of the social services programs now. This actually is the second time we've done this one. Since it was seasonally appropriate. Figure at this time we will take November and December off, and then, the new board can decide. I'd like to go through them again, maybe starting in January, but we'll let the new board decide that. But we will not have a social services presentation in November or December. We've cycled through whatever it is, 14, 15 programs, whatever it is, we've completely cycled through now, so.
Good. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Lisa.
Yes. They have a very challenging job.
And do it well.
Yes. All right. Item 2 would be Sherry Dawson from our Board of Elections. There she is. She slipped in on me. I was looking for you a minute ago. Yeah, we'll go ahead and vote. It was a vote early and vote often.
Yes, yes. Just a little
Welcome.
update. This morning, Wednesday is the first day of our One Stop, 8 o'clock. The newspapers had it in there starting at 1 o'clock for the last 2 weeks, but it does start at 8 o'clock on Wednesday.
Is that newspaper?
Just
looking
wanted
at
to
you, Zach.
verify that with everyone. I'm here this morning to ask for a pay increase for our One Stop and part-time workers. All of the counties in our district, in our voting district, are paying usually, most of them around $10 an hour. I've got emails from other directors. Some of them are way above what ours are. Ours has only been getting paid minimum wage. I've been here almost 2 years, and I spoke with April and Karen both. They both said that they don't remember them getting an increase since minimum wage was increased to $7.25 an hour. And a lot of our workers are aging out, and it's hard to recruit the younger generation for $7.25 an hour. I'm not asking for an increase in my budget. I have the money in my part-time help already. We're not having to use Jenny hardly at all. We might have to call her and confer with her maybe once or twice a month. And I've figured up some figures that what it would cost with the increase for our part-time help would be $6,307 for the year. And I have budgeted $10,000, and that would leave me the $3,693 if we was to need to call Jenny in during the election for any purpose. And the next slides are the ones from the other counties. Watauga pays their site managers $12 an hour, and their one-stop officials $10.50. Wilkes, if I can see it, one stop, $10 an hour for workers. Surrey, $9 and $10 an hour for theirs. Burke pays 10, and for just that's for their chief judges to work one stop, and the others make $8 an hour. And then Yancey, theirs make $12 an hour. So that's all of the counties that responded to me in our district, in our voting district, not in our county district, but in our voting district, of what their poll workers are making. And I would like to be able to recruit some younger poll workers, and with y'all's approval to increase this.
Where you have the $36.93 for Jenny if needed, is that what could her need be? Just consultation or?
Mostly consultation. She could be our backup on election day if we need a runner to come and help us, because she's so familiar with everything. If we would need a runner to go to the precincts.
Do you have as many workers now since the precincts have been dropped to, what, 5, I guess?
Four. No, they had already reduced the number of workers when I came to work. I have approximately 25 to 30, and most of those are talking about not doing it anymore. Some of them, the ones that are getting on up in age. But I have been recruiting. I've recruited a school teacher, retired school teacher, and a couple of others.
Like most of your recommendations in line with what you got back from the other counties, except the assistants. Why is that one more?
I don't know why they do. I don't know how they do theirs in their county.
Mm-hmm.
I just do one-stop workers. I don't do, because it's held here in the office where we are, we don't have a supervisor, a one-stop supervisor. The other counties that are bigger have to have a one-stop sites other than in their office, so they have to have a supervisor on site.
There's 13 assistants. That must be other than one stop.
13 assistants, those are election day totals. We have 4 chief judges, and that's the total of what they are paid on election day only. We have 8 judges, and this is required by law by the state, and that's their total for election day only. And then we have 13 assistants between the 4 precincts.
Yes, my question was, Wilkesboro, they're paying 125, and we're asking 140. If I'm looking at the same positions.
Right, if they're labeling it the same.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which I
Yeah.
assume they would.
Well, you can see, those totals are election day only. On Wilkesboro's, their chief judge makes $200 for election day. and their judges make 150 election day, and their precinct assistants make 125. I don't know why they make 125.
Okay.
That's just the list that they gave us. The election day totals were already set up when I came to work. And I'm not asking for an increase on any of that, just for our poll workers for the hourly wage during one stop.
Do you have enough workers?
Yes. Especially with the new equipment.
Okay.
It's running very smoothly.
Other questions?
I'm going to make a motion that this is approved.
Motion and a second to approve the requested pay adjustments. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0.
Thank you.
You have any other updates for us? Everything you ready, set, and
Very busy.
ready to go?
Very busy. A lot of interest in the election. We've had bukus of people coming by wanting sample ballots. Absentee voting is wide open.
And I would make a plea for the public to go ahead and pick up a sample ballot because it's a little busier than normal. I'll say it that way. But I would also encourage everyone, if you don't thoroughly look at everything, go to the very last item and really consider that. That is, this board has voted on and allowed that referendum to go on for our quarter-cent sales tax to help us help our schools and our fire departments. So,
And just to verify, there are 7 referendums on the ballot, so people don't get confused. There's a lot on there.
get up early and do your homework.
And we have information in our office on all of the referendums, sample ballots. Anybody feel free to come by and pick up any information they need.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Chairman, last Monday, of course, was the forum for the candidates for Board of Election, County Commissioner, and Sheriff. That is streaming online the same way you watch the commissioners' meetings. I've seen it on Channel 21 and Channel 22 as well. So take the time and watch it. It was very informative. Encourage everyone to take as much time as you need between now and Wednesday, or between now and November the 6th, and make an educated decision. Come out and vote, and there's plenty of information out there if you choose to be informed before you vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is Miss Rita Miller from our tax department.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so this morning I wanted to bring an update of where we are on the license plate agency and get direction from the board as to how we wish to proceed. It was August the 28th when I went down for the interview with DMV. And since then, we've gotten our information together about what it's going to cost for renovation to the office, what we anticipate staffing to be. And so now I'm here to ask for approval of the funding for it, or if the county chooses not to go forward, that decision as well. I do feel like our citizens would be better served if it was located in the tax office. That comes from comments they've made through the years, and just them not having to run back and forth between locations trying to get their business done. If you're trying to do that and you have an hour for lunch, that's going to be difficult to do if you have to go to one or more of those places multiple times. So what it would take is renovation to our existing floor plan. Josh and I have went over this and met with the glass company that's going to do the divider wall between collections. So it would be renovation to the existing floor plan, scheduling telephone company to install the DMV circuits. Talked with our representative that from Skyline, and they have it's called a Call Pilot 100 phone system. They have a used one that with warranty that they actually found for us. And this is an automated call system when someone calls in. I'm personally kind of opposed to those, but when we get all these calls coming in, So it would direct the person whether they wanted tag, payment, or real estate. But it is able to be set up to where someone has to answer that phone. If it gets sent to tax collections and one of the collectors can't answer that phone, it will get forwarded to another department. So it will not, so where you can leave a message, because that's a personal thing for me. I think customer service, somebody needs to answer the phone.
I concur.
So, and we're thinking that one part-time position, we don't really know yet. So I would hate to ask for a full-time and then come July not need that. So I think it's better to ask for a part-time and then see where we stand as far as additional help for that. This would be approving Cole, who is our customer service front person when you see come in, to be over the vehicle, motor vehicle part. And then the affected training, the DMV requires that anyone that's going to be working in that department, you have 3 weeks plus 2 days, consecutive weeks of training in Raleigh. To me, that's going to be the roughest part, but, and in looking at that, we had looked at like a hotel, but then Cole was online and found that it's probably going to be cheaper to try to do something like an Airbnb or something like that than try to do hotel accommodations. So whatever we can do most affordably would be certainly what we would do there. The Bartlett Glass Company, that's taken the current collections and just dividing it with a glass wall with a locking door. That's something DMV requires, that all of their stuff is secured. But that still leaves it open to where the one ADA access we have could be used for tax collections or the tag office, because we do have, that is a requirement that we have those. And so if the board chooses to go forward with this, then the total requested for the budget for this time period would be $53,750.
These are
Okay.
one-time costs, and then we would anticipate between $5,000 and $10,000 annually, that we wouldn't quite break even on the project. We could, but we would anticipate $5,000 to $10,000 annually for a surplus of expenses or a deficit of expenses compared to revenue.
I'm sorry.
In considering that deficit, are you considering a full-time or a part-time as
That was
requested
with the
now?
part-time position there.
Okay.
16-17, the Sparta branch income was $42,701, and in 17-18, it was $41,177. It's based on the figures from DNV as to how many registrations, titles, limited registration plates that were actually collected. Those are actual hard figures.
And in doing this, we should have, the hours should be the same as the county hours and holidays that we currently take, or the days it'll be closed.
DMV would allow us the option of 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, but I would want it to stay exactly like our office hours are now.
Any other questions?
Did anyone else apply, or are we the only ones applying?
No, they did have some other applications. They interviewed 2 other people. One person was not selected, and one withdrew after their interview.
And we're looking at this being a permanent location from now on.
It's an 8-year contract. So in 8 years, the contract will come up for renewal again. So then, if the county chose not to continue, they could, but that's 8 years is the term of the contract.
Last meeting, I mentioned that a local business that did not officially apply, they had approached us and, about our stepping aside and letting them run the DMV. We did check into that. It's going to be too long of a delay to reopen the process. Plus, there's no guarantee this company would get approved. There is no guarantee. I assume they would, but you never know. DMV has mysterious ways sometimes. So after all that, it is, Rita and I both feel it's in the best interest of the citizens of the county to proceed with the county absorbing this agency.
Speaking of that and a timeline, what is your goal, or what do you think if we allow you to do it and pursue it, you would be open for business.
Providing everything goes well with, once they come and do their field review with the installation, it's looking like January the 30th. They've already scheduled our training starting January the 3rd. So January 30th, we should be able to be open.
If we decide not to pursue this and allow someone else another opportunity, what are we thinking that would be of a delay
Probably 6 months, probably July.
based on conversations
Yeah.
with?
Again, assuming they're approved, they want to go through all the, they want to dance the dance that Rita has been working on for the last 3 months, assuming all that. I think the one company had the interview and heard everything that was required, and they're like, no way for $41,000 of revenue am I doing that.
Are they open over there now?
Monday through Wednesday through this month, but then after that, they are closed. And so it is a busy time, with a lot of people wanting to tag their trailers that haul trees and things like that. So it is going to be a tough period of time for them to actually be closed. But they're open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday through the end of October.
And if we took it over, it would be your hours. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, but we wouldn't be open until January the 30th. So our citizens are looking at November and December having to go elsewhere to get their tags, so,
January.
in January, yes,
Or online, yeah.
online.
That is a good comment. There's a lot of stuff that's done locally that can be done online.
Yes.
And also with your driver's license, if the public's not aware of that, check it out.
We still get a small commission, even if you do renew your tag online, we would still get a very small commission on that as well, so.
I think this is a service that we need to have here in Alleghany County, and I'd hate for us to not have it. And
Need a motion to go forward?
Yeah, if we're at this point, we're looking for action as to how the board wants to proceed. And I would like to express my gratitude for Rita and all of her work that she's put into it and her willingness to take this on. And I think it's a great fit, marrying the two locations, because, if there's a problem with the property tax of the vehicle or things of that nature, they could peck on the wall and ask somebody next door to adjust it or whatever, how they'll do that. So if there is an inclination to move forward or further discussion, where do we go?
Make a motion that we proceed with acquiring the license plate agency.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second to allow Rita to proceed with this. I would rather see it, an individual being able to run this and do it. But everybody had the same opportunity, and it was opened up for the public to pursue this. And I just hate that the one that come up afterwards didn't take the initiative during the opportunity, during the time that it was open, which it wasn't open for many days.
No, it wasn't.
But there was at least 3 that made the request for it, as we know, based on what you just said, so.
seems like now it's come between Rita and nobody. Is that correct?
Well, there is one who would like to pursue it after the fact.
We would have to, turn it down. They would have to reopen the bidding. If this other person wanted to apply, the process would have to start again. So we just don't think it's in the best interest of our citizens to do that, even though if someone else took it over, it would save the county a little money, but it's in the best interest of the citizens
I
to
think
move
the
forward as
service
is.
and to me, the challenge I have with going that direction is the 6-month delay.
Yep.
It's a long way to Elkin. I had to go not long ago because they had ran out of the tags, the weighted tag that I needed there. I'd purchased several the previous few days, and so I had to jump in and run to Elkin and stand in line out in Main Street down there so I could get me a tag in Elkins, so. And I know we'll have great smiling faces and friendly service here. So there is a motion and a second.
Just a question. If we don't move along right now, then it backs up the process even more. And, you know, if you need a tag right away, we need somebody in this county that can sell a tag, that can get that process done. It's been open to the public for quite a while, hasn't it?
Well, there was a 10-day, or I don't know what the window was that it opened up.
Wasn't very long. It was either 10 or 14 days, I can't
Yeah.
remember. It was not a real long
Yeah.
period of time.
And besides the county, there were two others that,
Well, that they interviewed, they would not share with me how many applications. There were two others that were interviewed.
at least two others.
Yes.
So that was three. So, I mean, if there was an opportunity for at least three folks to make the bid on it, then, I mean, you know, I don't think it's fair to really interrupt and start all over again. I mean, everybody had the same opportunity, so. But we're talking about probably a 6-month delay.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of us moving forward, and, because we don't need to be sending people to Ashe County and Surrey County to get their tags. It's more inconvenient and it's expense driving up and down these mountains.
For 90 days, they will have to anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have we're expecting January 30 if we proceed. And I think we have a motion and a second to proceed. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. You might want to hang around just a few minutes whenever we get down a couple more items here, in case there's questions on the consent items.
Okay.
Thank you, Rita. All right, next on the list is Mr. Daniel Roten from the Emergency Management Office. How's all your staff today? They're great. All have many conflicts or arguments with each other?
Once in a while, I have a disagreement with myself, yeah.
Okay.
We had a staff meeting this morning that I was able to attend. So.
We don't drink a lot of coffee at my staff meetings. I'm here today to briefly talk to you all about the recent weather events that we experienced. Mike had always joked with me that he expected me to not have any emergencies for, I think, the first 2 years, and I came really, really close.
Almost made it.
And actually, I'd never had to declare a state of emergency before since I've been working here. And now it looks like we may end up with 2 in less than a month. So it's been interesting for sure. September the 15th was when Florence came through. We declared that day. We got a lot of rain. We had a little wind. But thankfully, I think Florence blew down all the trees that would have blown down during Michael. So during Michael, it got a little sporty Thursday morning. I'm sure most of you are aware that I did make the decision to evacuate Ted's Trailer Park based on what was going on that morning, and then opened a shelter for those folks and any other people that needed one. And we also had the big mudslide out on Mountain View Road. Otherwise, damages during both events were limited, to mostly trees falling and some flooding in some folks' basements and things like that. But again, I think we dodged a bullet. So I'm not going to belabor the weather, but what I wanted to talk about was some things that went well and some things that perhaps we could address for the future. So things that went well, I think all the responders did a marvelous job. And particularly, I'd like to give a lot of credit to our volunteer fire departments. Those guys were out most all the night during Florence. They were really busy during Michael as well. But, they don't get paid anything, and they were out in the wet and the cold suffering. And so wanted to thank those guys in particular. Like I said, Florence didn't really test us. I mean, we thought it was going to be a huge, major calamity. And really, when it was all over and done with, it wasn't. We were lucky. So, it was a good learning experience, but really, it didn't really strain our system. We handled it with everything that we had here. Everyone worked really good together during the event. The one thing that I'll get to later is some communication from beforehand, but I think during the event, everyone came together, worked as good as we could. During Michael, for instance, I couldn't actually get anything done because everyone was calling me to tell me they would help me. So, I think that was a very good the responder community all work good together. The one thing I really wanted to take from Michael and myself and Lisa talked about this morning was that we opened a shelter and then we were able to close it before 5 o'clock. So we got a sort of an exercise out of it. We haven't opened a shelter since what, Hugo?
I've not ever.
Maybe Hurricane Hugo? So we've always talked about it. Lisa gives me a bunch of flack about feeding me chocolate if I'll promise not to open shelters, but it was a good exercise. I mean, you know, a half a day exercise in how we're going to set up shelters in case we really do have a really bad one.
And for the public's information, when we do open a shelter, it does bring in social services.
That's
to
right.
run.
Statutorily, DSS is the managing authority of a shelter.
Right.
We had one family came in, we fed them. I mean, it was a good exercise for everyone involved, so.
I think so. So, with that said, there are a few points that we've looked at, that I've looked at, that myself and Mark have had some discussions with, the things that maybe we can do better next time. The one discussion we've had some was with the emergency action plan. If you're not familiar with it, it's a document about that big. It's a huge, unwieldy thing that is not very useful in the heat of battle.
Would say very generic.
It is.
Very broad in
And
scope.
they're made
so
that
we
way
don't
on
miss
purpose.
anything, but at the same time, it's so big, it's like a raindrop in the ocean.
And speaking of being generic, it's that way on purpose so that you can mold it into whatever it is that you're doing that day. That's the reason it is the way it is.
Having read the EOP, people are surprised to know that we have a plan if we have a crash at the airport. We have a plan if we have a derailment at the rail line. We have a plan if the dam bursts. So if we weed out a lot of things that will never happen in this county, we would be down to a more manageable level.
I did hear, if you don't, Highway Patrol is actually in charge of train derailments, and Bob Lane told me when he was still working.
And
that he
airplane
was leaving.
crashes.
Now, it is a potential to have a plane crash here.
Yes.
They had one in Ashe County not too long ago. And we could have a dam burst. Actually, I have 4 high hazard dams in the county. And
Now
actually,
that-
High
now it's an
Meadows was very
education event.
concerned about theirs.
And with the
So-
training routes coming through here with the military aircraft,
Yeah,
eventually
so-
we will.
Those things are
It will
unlikely, but certainly could happen, and that's what I do, is try to prepare for the unlikely. So, but at any rate, one of the things we have talked about was making a smaller document, a page or two, something that, the fireman or a police officer or whoever can stick in their pocket, or maybe even you folks can have in your pocket for that event. Something that is a little bit easier to navigate, that kind of lays out more, here's who you need to call. Here's what you need to do first. If in lieu of step A, we move to step B, something like that.
Of a flow chart.
That's right.
Just take what we have and boil it down.
And have a bunch of phone numbers. I mean, there's a lot of information, and I hate to say it, but there's a lot of things that I know and know who to call and know what to do, but what if I'm on vacation? Or I'm incapacitated or
Yeah.
something. So I think that would be useful going forward. The other thing that I've learned, and I've actually been working on this some, was how to get to the public. How do I get in touch with the public? We really don't have a means here. Now, during Hurricane Florence, Charlie was working with me some, and we were producing some YouTube videos, and those were good. I think the first one I did, got 700 views or something, and I'm not crazy about being on television, but there it is. So, but I think something going forward would be good, some sort of a reverse 911 type system. And a lot of our counties around us have that, and actually the town of Sparta has a system where they can reach out to their citizens. What they're using is Blackboard. It's more, I don't know what to say, the education system uses it too. It's not as emergency driven as some of the others I'd looked at that pull data from 911.
More of an information sharing
That's
type
right.
service.
I haven't explored it fully with them. I actually have already reached out to Blackboard to have a sort of a informational sharing sort of thing. They can show me their product. And then, if it worked out to where we could use Blackboard, perhaps us in the town of Sparta could work together and save some money. Now, we're talking about a ton of money. I think when I looked into a system called Code Red, we could purchase their system by ourselves. It was a little over $4,000 a year. So it's not insanely expensive. It's population-based. But again, if the town can use it and we can use it and the school and whoever else can use it and divvy up all those costs, then why not? But that's just something I'd like to explore a little bit more. I mean, currently reach out to the public system is for a fireman to go to the firehouse and mash a button on the siren, but then you don't really know what that means. So the other benefit to a notification system would be that you can send out other types of information, missing people, just general information blasts. Be careful with that sort of stuff, you'll run people off, but it is a useful tool to have, and to be able to reach people either through their cell phone or on their landline, either one, that would be, I think, a useful tool. Just for instance, the shelter, I mean, I didn't have any way in the heat of the moment to get that information out, really. The YouTube videos are sort of preemptive, but when you need to get people information, you need to get them quickly. We don't have that capability. One other shortcoming that we had identified was a fuel problem. That we had worked through this some beforehand. What if the power went off for 2 or 3 days and we couldn't get fuel? Or what if we had a situation like we did a couple of years ago when none of the gas stations could get gas? Well, fire trucks, police cars still need fuel. And so one thing I would like to explore would be using the school system as a fuel depot. I think we've done that with them some in the past, sort of had an agreement, hey, if you need some fuel, we'll get you some fuel. I'd like to take that to the next step. I don't know what's involved with using the school system as fuel depot. It may be just a handshake, but I'd like to explore that a little bit deeper, and even maybe provide a generator for them to be able to, because they don't have any backup power at their fuel depot either. And I may even have actually a generator that could be used, but I think it would be in our best interest to have a fuel shortage solution, and even if we'd had to buy a new generator, I think that would be cheap insurance. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was the actual shelter which we had at the Wellness Center. Currently, our shelters are located in the school system, with each school being pre-designated. I think around the state, the use of the schools is sort of fading away because sometimes they have school when we have problems. And that showed up Thursday, actually. School was in session. Well, I can't use the school as a shelter, really, when they're having school. But the Wellness Center worked out great. Big bathrooms, commercial kitchen, plenty of room, and they're, I think, going to be they would be willing to do that for us. So I think, in the future, I think that would be a good thing to exercise with them, would be making them be a pre-designated shelter. Probably still keeping the schools as well, but primarily use the Wellness Center. And then I have a big backup generator that could be used to power that. We just probably need to look at buying a manual transfer switch to plug a generator into it. Otherwise, they have everything that you could want to be sheltered. So with that said, do you folks have any questions or comments or insights?
Well, I would like to thank you for all you do and all the time you spend on the phone and trying to and doing your job. And I'm glad to hear from you and hear some of this feedback, and look forward to maybe you developing some of these areas that you brought up and bring them back to us. And I think it will certainly be a great for the county, for the emergency services of the county. I like that, boiling that plan down to a more focused plan, and then possibly the backup fuel source, kind of getting a standard operating procedure in place so that, like you said, should you be, away and something happens, then, everybody's knows the information. Everybody's been briefed on it, and maybe kind of do an annual briefing with everybody and update numbers and the plan, and just kind of revisit it with all of our emergency folks. So, but with that, I'll open it up for other comments from the board, questions.
I'd just like to say, I think if anything good came out of the storm, it was your practice at the Wellness Center. That, helps you to prepare for the next time.
I agree with that, too. Like I said, we never opened it. Not since I was 6 years old have we opened a shelter here, so that was great practice.
I think there's other areas that we need to look at. I know whenever you opened a shelter, I went over, we were thinking that we may have to spend the night there, so the question of cots came in. This time, we were able to feed because we could go to a restaurant if we have an event where, let's say, a major transmission line goes down. and you don't have the electricity, moving that generator over there is not going to do anything if we don't have a transfer switch so that you can switch the electrical supply from the main line over to the generator. We've got the capability to go to DRMO, that's the Defense Reutilization and Materials Office, where the excess equipment from the Department of Defense and the federal government, it costs us nothing other than to go down and pick it up. It's free, but we do have to look at it. If it has USMC on it, it's wore out, don't touch it. You've got to watch that. We can also get refuelers through that source right there. It's the planning. Right now, we need to, if we're going to use these areas, we need to get those transfer switches wired in, and it's going to be money, because they are not inexpensive, especially with the size of generator that we're going to have. A lot of people don't realize one of our backup generators is at the jail, 12-hour fuel supply. If we have a major snow event like 1960 where we can't get in to refuel the generator after 12 hours, that means no power. That takes out our dispatch. Dispatch, we've got our secondary. The backup for that's 24 hours of fuel. We can't get in to put the fuel in, and this is LPG, then we go silent. These are the things that we've got to think in advance and prepare for. You prepare for the worst, and if it never happens, and it's a minor event like October the 23rd of last year, whenever we had that storm come through the western part or the eastern part of the county that ripped up Wilkes. I mean, we've dodged a bullet 3 times in less than 2 years now. Less than a year, actually. But eventually, we're going to get smacked. We're going to get smacked in the teeth. So I applaud you for what you did, correct actions. Took a bull by the horn. The Department of Social Services, you were there. The family was happy. They were being well fed, and everybody was running around. I salute you for thinking in advance and coming to us and putting a shot across our bow. Work the figures up, see what you need, and don't go pie in the sky, but give us the basics, and we'll see if we can meet them. And pray to God that we never need them.
That's right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Danny. All right, we'll move along to general business. Item number 1.
That's a resolution to declare the old scale house at the transfer station surplus property. Since had put the new one in place and moved the old one, I know staff have been approached by several folks that would like to inquire about purchasing it. It's not going to be much money, probably less than $1,000 certainly, but might as well sell it and have somebody haul it off, and we have
Sealed
no
bid?
purpose for it. Yeah, we'd want to do sealed bid on that.
Motion to approve.
At the scale house, or is that the scales?
That's the scale house.
Okay.
I'd second that motion.
The hut.
There's a motion and a second to approve this surplus property resolution for the scale house, the old scale house at the transfer facility. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0. Okay, item number 2. Mike had brought up the idea of possibly temporarily waiving the brush fee at the transfer facility to give folks an opportunity to clean up from some of the down trees in the recent storms we've had through a certain date or for so many.
I would suggest 30 days, 60 days, something like that.
So it's open for discussion. What's the board's thoughts?
And of course, you can put any limiting conditions on it that you choose. We can, make someone specifically say that it's storm damage. Again, we're not going to go out to their property and verify, but, we may want to put that limiting condition on it.
You should be at least 60 days by the time you get the notice out to the public.
thoughts?
I concur with Commissioner Prince. 60 days would be adequate, because if we decide to do this, we notify the paper, it'll be, what, week, 10 days before it will actually run in the paper. So that cuts it down essentially to 45 days. Of course, notify the staff that effective immediately if someone comes in. Now, if they come in with a stack of drywall, I don't remember any houses being knocked down there.
A couple of tool sheds, but that was about it, I think, so.
Well, we're going to replace one of the tool sheds for them. So all they got to do is be high bid.
No, it's,
That would be, well, let's go ahead. That would be the 15th of
November.
December. 60 days.
Fine.
That's a nice thing to do. I'd make that motion.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second to waive the brush fee for storm damaged brush at the transfer facility through December the 15th. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0. Thank y'all. All right, next on the agenda is our consent agenda items. There are several items in there. Does anyone have any questions on any of those items?
I have none.
Silence gives consent. I'm always said.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor make it known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 5-0.
Go forth and collect, Rita.
Thank you, Rita. And I would say there are some areas in there that we will be, where they recommended, she recommended solid waste fee, and so it will be with her recommendation.
Yep.
So. Okay, item F, public comments. Anyone left that would like to share anything with this board regarding the county or anything? Now would be appropriate time to come and share. Seeing no movement, we'll move along to item G, county manager.
first thing I've got is, State Department of Transportation has a public hearing for the Rural Operating Assistance Program to set funding for the next year. And with the notice, of course, it's on the DOT website. It's also here if you would like to comment how you can do that. They've set the proposed budget for next year. So again, if anyone is interested in commenting on that, feel free to do so. All right, there's the notice of public hearing, sorry. The North Carolina Consolidated Plan for Housing and Community Development. I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong script there. This is the North Carolina Department of Housing and Community Development. It is their annual action plan is actually what the public hearing is about. So there's the link right there in the notice if you would like to read the annual action plan, and you can go to comment. Public hearing is actually going to be done live over the internet through GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar if you've ever been on any of those. Public hearing will be held that way anyway, and you can comment until November the 5th. So if you do want to read the plan and comment, please feel free to do so. Okay. Next up is the building permit report. Again, you see here, so we've issued 118 building permits to date, which should add about almost $3 million to our tax base if everything is completed appropriately. So, yeah, every little bit helps. A lot of electrical and mechanical permits lately. So, Mark and his competitors have been very busy lately, so.
Mostly my competitor.
I know Billings Heating and Air has moved way up the list for us on our buying locally list. They've moved way up to near the top of the list this year, so we've had a lot of work as well. Next up is we met last time, or actually 2 meetings ago, the mid-month September meeting. We talked about the 2 pieces of property we were going to give to the school system upon completion of a facilities use agreement. My laser's over there. The top property here, the part of the ball field, as it turns out, is actually part of a Partif grant that we received some years ago, and we are not going to be able to deed that over to the school, as it turns out. We have to maintain ownership of the property for 25 years, and this grant was 2008, so we're not going to be able to deed the ball field piece of the property over to the school system. So when we get the facilities use agreement complete, which I'm aiming for the mid-month November meeting to have that in front of you, we'll rework the agenda item at that time to just deed the tennis court piece of the property over to the school system.
Have you had a conversation with the school regarding the progress of this?
Very preliminary at this
Okay.
point, so just an exchange of email at this point. So,
Okay.
first step was to get recreation department, basically every school facility that we use, what we use it for, what we do to maintain it. I got all that from Jim last week, and so the next point is to convert that into the outline of the agreement, which that's on my plate now.
That has nothing to do with, we can still proceed here?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So we can still subdivide that property as we had proposed and deed that over to the school, yes.
Thank you.
Next item is a Rural Operating Assistance Program from DOT. So these will be the Alleghany County portion of the funds, which, that helps with our, again, that's Alleghany in Motion funds to help with transportation. It specifically goes for elderly and disabled citizens. So you see our formula for the disbursement there. So again, very valuable service. What we call the ED vans, the 2 larger vans, this covers their operation. We get some money for the, administration of the program, some money for the actual upkeep and maintenance of the vans. And again, those are our 2 most used vans, are the 2 ED vans. Okay. So again, just general information for the citizens there. Next item is legislative update from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. These are 5 bills that are in front of the legislature right now that they had asked us to see if we wanted to comment on. So they're not, the biggest one is the 4th one here, the Medicaid audit would go from annually to once every 3 years for social services now. From my perspective, that's a good thing. It's a real headache for social services to be audited by the Medicaid. But on the other hand, this is federal taxpayer dollars. I don't know if, as a taxpayer, if I want it moved from every year to every 3 years. That's one I'm really torn on. Selfishly, for my job, it's easier to have it every 3 years. But as a taxpayer, do we want to go to every 3 years? I don't know. So I encourage folks to go to the General Assembly website and read this particular bill, or all the bills. And if you want to comment, you can go directly to the General Assembly website and comment. Contact Senator Ballard's office as well, or again, encourage you to look at those. But if the county wants to make any official comment on any of these actions through the association, I encourage you all to read them. Most of them don't really apply a whole lot to us. The Medicaid one was certainly one that caught my eye. So, very mixed emotions on that one. And the last thing was a summary of property insurance claims that we have right now. We generally have very low claims. You had a budget amendment today for one of our transportation vans hit a deer. We had a sheriff's patrol car hit a deer a little while back as well. So the James family vehicle hit a turkey recently. I just got that repaired, but that's not part of this claim. So I've hit 2 animals with my car since I've lived here. I'd never hit an animal before, but both of those were outside Alleghany County. Actually, one of them was in Watauga County, one of them was in Johnson City. I didn't actually hit them here, but they both happened since I've been here, so.
I weren't aware of your august position in the county.
So I hit a turkey on the interstate in the middle of Johnson City. I don't know how that happened, but, so again, we have very low claims, but just wanted to inform the public of any of those situations.
Cheaper to hunt with a gun.
Do we have
than it
any,
is a car.
do we have any pending claims that could impact us?
No, we do have one potential inmate medical insurance claim that's pending out there. But it's, I've said all along, it's going to be somewhere between a sprained ankle and a full body cast as far as how much it's going to affect the county. It's going to be closer to the sprained ankle as it turns out, but we'll probably have a budget amendment around that at our next meeting, and it wasn't quite ready yet. So we have some funds built in for these kind of things. Our inmate medical insurance is a reimbursement, so we have to pay the bill, then submit it, get reimbursed. A lot of people's dental insurance works that way, so. But we do have some money built in, so, but won't hurt us too badly as it turns out. It'll pinch a little, but we can survive. But we'll talk more about that next time. A couple of other things I have. Want to say congratulations to Deputy Brandon Martin. He's been with us a few months. He completed his training, and Nick and the sheriff signed off on his training last week. He was in the vehicle his very first day of training when that event happened back in August, and he was under gunfire on his first day on the job. He was riding around with Sergeant Kilby, who was his training officer. They were shot at his first day on the job, and he's still with us, stuck it out, so we certainly appreciate that. I know everyone that joins law enforcement knows that may happen at some point in their career. They may get shot at. You don't expect it to be your first day of training, but, So we had Sergeant Kilby, we had Deputy Martin, and we had K-9 Officer Buck all in the vehicle. That was one of the vehicles that was shot at that night. So Buck was about had a heart attack, but he survived as well, so everyone came through it just fine. So certainly glad he's still with us, and we appreciate it. Law enforcement related option, we did sign the contract this week with the hospital for partial reimbursement when we do have to send a deputy to the hospital to sit on someone that's having an involuntary commitment. So we talked about when we proposed the contract a couple of months ago, it's not a full reimbursement yet. We'll work it up over the next couple of years, kind of gradually increase that cost to where it needs to be. We anticipate, starts November the 1st, we anticipate the first 12 months, $30,000 to $40,000 will be received in reimbursement. Hopefully less, hopefully we have less involuntary commitments, but based on our average for the last 4 months, it will be somewhere in that ballpark. So we appreciate the hospital board, the new hospital board approving that contract going forward. And I said we'll ramp that up over time and gradually increase that up to market at some point in the future. So we have to crawl before we can walk and walk before we can run on those kind of things. And
Meeting.
yeah, the joint meeting on the 29th. Want to remind everybody of that. That will be here, this room at 7 o'clock. And as we talked about earlier, early voting, of course, starts Wednesday. Encourage everyone to vote. Get your sample ballot. Watch the the candidates forum from last Monday on ACTV or catch it on Channel 21. You probably want to DVR it and watch it over and over and over, I'm sure. So encourage everyone to vote. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. At this time, we're at county commissioner comments. I'll start to my far left. Go ahead, finish that. Commissioner John Irwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that it caught my attention at a recent Town of Sparta meeting was their brief on streetscape. One of their funding proposals was go to the county. You know, the county is not the Federal Reserve. We now know from Sparta Lights that money can be raised in this county. We are not an open checkbook. The first or second option is not the county. And to that end, I believe that we are going to have to start looking more closely, especially whenever we get into the budget season, and let the candidates for county commissioner know what they're going to be facing that we're going to have some challenges, especially if we want to do the things that have been proposed in this body. I believe that we are going to have to become more professional and audit the accounts of those places that are receiving county money. Right now, we just throw the money out there and let it go. The good old boy network of money going in, money coming out, not really tracking it is not going to make it, not in modern times. It may have the 20s and 30s, but this is something that is going to have to come to an end here in a very near future. Early voting is coming up. I do encourage you to vote. I spent my life, my adult life, majority of it in uniform, defending your right to vote. It always surprised me, the people that never took that opportunity. I can name a lot of names of men that are not here now that died for your right to do it. I'd like to congratulate David Higgins. He was recognized Saturday night at the Glade Creek Drawdown for 20 years of service as a volunteer fireman. Very nice plaque. Actually, I think it was more deserving to go to his wife, because she watched him for 20 years go out that door, never knowing when he was going to come back, the dangers involved. David has served his county for 20 years, his community, never received any pay for it, countless hours, and a plaque. It looks good on the wall, but it really does not reflect the impact of the service that he has done to his community and county. That's all I have, sir. Godspeed to everyone. Please vote.
Thank you. Mr. Prince.
A couple of things. One, thank the emergency people for their action and their dedication to keeping us safe. I had the pleasure last week of touring the Blue Ridge Animal Hospital. I was very impressed with what they have built. If you've not been there, I recommend you go. It is a first-class place, and I think it's a credit to the county. The other thing is the chamber is making great progress. I'm pleased with their success and getting new members. That's great for them. Mike, on the Department of Transportation and the bridge plans for 2020, we need to figure out some way to start helping them figure out how to do that without totally shutting down the town. That's a scary thought, especially the money they're talking about spending on streetscape and the effects of the merchants and their investments. So anything we can do to pull some strings there, we need to.
Their initial plan is to acquire some property and do a loop around so the road would not be closed. I know the gentleman who's one of the property owners they had approached it was almost an acre of riverfront property, and I think they offered him $3,700 for it. That is not market value. I mean, again, not going to get rich, but that's not market value. But the process is underway for them to attempt at least to acquire some property. Now, they can take it by eminent domain, but a judge would determine fair market value to be a heck of a lot more than $3,700. So I certainly don't blame that gentleman for saying no, but that is the plan, at least at this point, is to attempt to acquire some property and do a small bypass, basically, while the bridge is underway, build a temporary bridge.
The other thing is I've talked to several of the pastors, local churches, about the churches doing fundraisers for the fire departments, and there appears to be some interest in that. I know there's been a lot of talk about firemen having to take their free time and try to go out and raise funds. So if the churches could help in that at least once a year, I think it'd be a good plus for them. So it is a community service county, so I think there's good possibilities there. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
No comments, but I always enjoy y'all's.
Or Bobby Earl?
Just a few quick ones. The damage to our roads in the county was extensive, and I know that I live on a road that was totally destroyed, so it was 4 days before we could even get out the normal way. There was a backup plan. I think DOT's hired some private contractors to help out, and they've done an excellent job getting some of the roads fixed up. November the 11th is right around the corner. That'll be the Veterans Day. We have 2 ceremonies, one at the courthouse and one down at the Veterans Memorial Park. That one at the Memorial Park will start at 1:30. Just a quick note on the quarter-cent sales tax. If you buy $100 worth of product, you're going to pay 25 cents more. 25 cents on $100. That 25 cents adds up to almost $180,000 to $190,000 for the year for the county. And that's pledged to go to the school system, fire departments, and rescue departments. So it's, to me, it's a no-brainer to help out everybody in the county.
Is that it? A couple of things. I would like to thank the library and the Friends of the Library, Charlie Scott and his crew with the candidate forum. A great service, I think, to the county. Really good. The other thing is serve on the High Country Council of Governments, and I just wanted to share a couple of things. They do have a new director in place, Julie Wiggins. She's been with them for a while, and looking forward to the continued leadership there. It's a great organization that serves and helps the counties of which it's a part. I think it's 7 county, maybe more than that. I'm on 2 different boards up there. So, but the other thing is one of the board members, Tudor Vance, a longtime member, great public servant. I think Mayor of Crossnore passed away last week. So just wanted to ask the community to remember the family in your prayers. Lived a pretty lengthy life, and but it's just succumbed to lung cancer. So remember that family, and that's all I have, except for one question. Any word on the paving at the Veterans Park?
We're pushing hard to get that done before the Veterans Day.
Okay.
It's
all right. I mean, it's get it done right. It'll be done when it's done. I was just curious if there was. And then again, just a reminder, the joint meeting, the 29th at 7 o'clock in this room with the town. And if that's all, thank you all. Thank everybody. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Moving a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?